how did the baby get all these burns?
The burns was due to a bath that I was giving him prior to the event.
He had first and second degree burns on his body from hot water, from a bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to, well, after all of this transpired with this baby, how old was this victim?
About 18 months.
And you heard that right. And now he is up for parole after being given a 10-year sentence for what he did. And his jacket, it's full of write-ups. He's full of different parole violations in his past. I mean, he has just a long history of really doing the worst. And it's just something impossible, I think, for us to understand. But we are about to watch the parole hearing of this man who did this to this little boy, 18-month-old. I'll unpack it with what details we have at the end.
Is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Courtney Saunders, 370802. He is serving a sentence of 10 years jail, followed by a 5-year special parole for assault first and assault third. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of March 20, 2025 at 85%. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and showed he has completed Alternative to Violence Advanced, Domestic Violence, Voices, Embracing Fatherhood. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender overall score, RT, falls within the moderate range, risk for recidivism. And Mr. Saunders, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole, sir. You may begin.
I actually wrote a letter, if I could read it.
Please go right ahead.
Good afternoon. So I'm writing you today with a deep sense of humility and hope, as I respectfully request your consideration for parole. After spending 8 years in prison, I've had ample time to reflect on my past, my actions, and the impact those decisions have had in my life, the lives of my family, and in my community. During this time, I have worked hard to grow and become a better man, one who is ready to contribute positively to society and be the father, mentor, and role model that I should have been from the start. Growing up, I faced many challenges, most of which I was unprepared to handle. I took care of myself from a young age without the positive guidance. I made choices that led me down the wrong path. I now understand that those decisions have caused pain, not only to myself, but for those around me. I carry the weight of those mistakes, and I would like to apologize to those I've hurt due to my reckless behavior. I have taken part in educational programs and self-improvement courses that have helped me to develop new skills and a better mindset. I've gained a clearer understanding of my responsibilities and what it means to live a life of integrity. I know that I've made significant changes in my life, and I am ready to show that I can be a positive force in my community. I am also ready to take on the responsibility of supporting my family. I understand the importance of securing steady employment, providing for my loved ones, and being a consistent and present father. I have a strong support system in place, and I'm fully prepared to reintegrate into society with the same dedication I have shown in my personal growth over these past years. I know that I cannot change my past, but my future is in my hands. I am asking for the opportunity to continue on this path of redemption outside of here. Thank you for your time and considering my request for parole. I am committed to making the most of this second chance, if granted, and I hope that I have the opportunity to make amends and build a future that reflects on the man that I am today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saunders. You did a nice job with that and you delivered it well.
Thank you.
Did you spend a lot of time on it?
Yes, I did.
I encourage you to hang on to it and read it from time to time.
All right.
All right, well, we're going to take turns asking questions based on the documents that were available to us, and then we will discuss your case and make a decision this afternoon. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll begin with my colleague, panel member Barry.
Okay, so Mr. Saunders, I agree, that was an excellent statement, and you did do a very good job in delivering it. I appreciate the remorse that you expressed for your actions and the impact that you believe your actions have had on others, and primarily on yourself. And I know that 8 years in prison is a long time to be down, but this crime was very, very serious.
Yes, ma'am.
And in reviewing the documents in preparation for today's hearing, sir, the resounding, I guess, trail of events show that you pretty much deny that you abused this child. Is that still your position here today?
No, ma'am. During this time, I accepted all of my mistakes. I don't want to sit here and make any excuses, but the person I was then, I'm not the person now.
Well, the
No.
person that you were then, what did that person back then do to this child?
Back then, once again, I don't want to make any excuses. I just wasn't in a good space in my life where things weren't going my way. I had a lot going on, and
Mr. Saunders, I didn't ask you to explain to me what your mind space was. I was asking what the person back then did to this child.
So when everything was happening, I didn't know how to take care of a child. So, the crying, the constant, just watching the child wasn't ready. And one day he did cry and I did shake the baby. And he, obviously I lied about it because I was scared. And, I didn't want this to happen. Right. So.
But my question to you is this your first time admitting that you actually did harm to this baby?
My second time.
When did you admit it before?
Excuse me?
When did you admit that before now?
When I took the plea agreement to this 10-year sentence, you have to acknowledge that you did, something wrong. I never admitted to the shaking part, but I did acknowledge that
No, you
something
admitted, pled guilty to
Yes.
the charges, but you never said, this is what I did. Did you ever tell the victim's mother what you did to this child?
No, ma'am.
How did the baby get all these burns?
The burns was due to a bath that I was giving him prior to the event.
He had first and second degree burns on his body from hot water, from a bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to, after all of this transpired with this baby, how old was this victim?
About 18 months.
Do you know if he has any long-term injuries because of this?
Oh, no, ma'am.
You don't know, or he does not?
No, he does not.
Okay. And he was not your biological child, is that right?
No, ma'am. No, he was not.
Okay. But your co-defendant was pregnant with your child, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got into an altercation with her too. Well, she was what, 5 months pregnant?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do to her?
I grabbed her. We had gotten into a argument. I'm not sure what the argument was about. And she tried to leave, and I was trying to refrain her from leaving. And I went to grab her, and I guess I grabbed her in her upper shirt area and around her neck area, and tried to tell her like, calm down, don't leave. And then we kept arguing, and then I remember making statements of I didn't want her to have my child anymore because I felt like where we were in our relationship, a child wasn't gonna better that. Also, I wasn't sure the time frame of how far along she was. I wasn't in my thought process
You
at the
knew she was
moment.
pregnant,
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
right? And then if you don't want people to have your babies, then you know what you need to do to prevent them from having your kid, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I mean, it wasn't her fault. I mean, after she's pregnant now, what were you expecting her to do?
I honestly made the statement to upset her. I didn't expect her to do anything. Honestly speaking, I was very excited about the pregnancy myself. And, so I spoke without, really thinking about what I'm saying or how it would affect
No,
her.
you were doing what people who like to be in control do. You know, it's called manipulation. You say bad things to intentionally hurt your intimate partner. Like, so you understand now, after having completed domestic violence, that it's not just physical violence, it's also
Yes, ma'am.
verbal abuse.
Yes,
So you
ma'am.
were guilty of both. Now, who was the victim in this assault third that occurred in 2013? Who was that victim? Was that another girlfriend?
2000. Oh, yes, ma'am.
And had you participated in any treatment before then? At that time?
Like after the case or before the case?
Yeah,
Um,
after that case, after.
no, ma'am.
Were you able to get to the root of where all this anger or jealousy derives?
During this time, I've grown to learn more about it. Who I am, just with the abandonment issues that I faced.
Okay,
Yeah,
understandable. I mean, you're not the only person who's experienced, their parents or their fathers or, not being there or leaving. And so that's a legitimate reason, but that's not your intimate partner's fault,
no, it's
right?
not. Yes, ma'am.
And so share with us some of the ways that you believe that you can refrain from this behavior going forward. So you're in a relationship, maybe your partner's toxic, you have an argument, what do you do?
I leave it now. I'm in a space now where I have no room for error. As you stated, my girlfriend at the time of this case had my child. He's about to be 8 next month, and he looks up to me. So I don't want this to be a recycled pattern. I've read a bunch of books. I've tried to learn about myself, and I know that there's multiple other things that I can do. We can talk about it. If you don't want to talk now, you can walk away. You can leave the relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in those times, I did what I knew best, and that was anger and violence and things of that nature. I'm not that person anymore.
Well, hope not, Mr. Saunders, because you are on a path of destruction. I have to be honest with you.
Definitely.
And I'm glad that you were apprehended and put in prison, because I don't think that you would have stopped if you were not. What do you tell your 8-year-old son about what you did to his brother? Where's his brother?
Say that last part again, please.
Where's the victim of your assault one case? Where is he? Who's in whose custody?
He's with his aunt.
Okay. So what do you tell your 8-year-old about what happened or what you did to his brother?
I haven't told him anything about it yet. I feel like that's a conversation that, face to face. I only get to talk to my son here and there. So those few moments that I am able to talk to him, I just listen to him talk for the most part.
Well, Mr. Saunders, you spoke in your opening statement about accountability, responsibility, taking ownership of what you've done. And it doesn't sound like you really are. That responsibility and accountability means being honest. And
Right.
there's a reason why that child is no longer with his mother. Does he even know that? Does he know he has a brother?
Yes, ma'am. I asked about him.
You asked about it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just curious to know, why does he think that his brother is not in the house with him?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. You know, I have to be
I'm not-
honest that. Go ahead.
Excuse me, I'm not sure what he thinks. I can't answer that question because I don't know what he knows or what he doesn't know about the situation.
But that's why you should be honest. Why does he think you're in prison? Does he know you're in prison, or are you telling him you're away at college, or, you know, I know y'all make up stories.
I heard that he knew I was in prison. I never told him. I just tried to sugarcoat, where I am to him. For the most part, I try to tell him, like, when I tell him things like you have to be good, you have to behave, I'm in a place where bad people are and stuff of that nature. I don't specifically use the word jail, but I use it. I let him know that this is a bad place. I made mistakes. And I've always told myself when he gets older, I'm not sure.
I'm gonna stop you because my questions are, I think that I try to be as straight as possible. So I specifically asked you, why does your son think that you're away? Why does he think you're in prison? What do you tell him? I heard you say that you didn't tell him that you were in prison, that he heard that. You just said you're in a bad place, a place for bad people. Why does he think you're there?
He doesn't. I've never expressed why I'm here. I understand what you're saying. I've never told him why I'm here. Why does he think I'm here? I'm not sure what they tell him out there because I don't talk to them often. So
don't you think that as his parent, for you to tell him your side of the story opposed to other people telling him the story, and then you're going to be trying to make up for the negative things, if there are negative things that they're putting in his ear. I think that honesty is the best policy. That's just me. But
I agree with you. I just
these kids are so smart, Mr. Saunders. Believe it or not, that 7-year-old, that 7, he's a whipper. Listen, they're smart. That's all I can tell you. And they're not as naive as you think that they are. They are unfortunately far more smart, far beyond, they're wiser beyond their years, is what I'm trying to say. So I think that your child would understand if you said, listen, I made a mistake. This is why I'm here. And I'm working so hard to never do that to another person, kind of thing. I think that he would understand that, in little people's terms. One more thing. So you have excellent evaluations from being a janitor in a facility, excellent evaluation for cleaning up the gym, and domestic violence, excellent eval. Why are you then continuing to receive disciplinary infractions?
Once again, ma'am, I have no excuse. So with the phone, because a lot of them are dirty urines and tampering because of the phone safety security, having somebody else's phone pin. But I would say that the phone situation is I try to just contact my family.
Let's talk about the impact. I don't care about the security tampering.
All right.
And I do care about the recentness, because you knew that was against the rules. You know that you can't use somebody else's pen. So you made yet another poor decision to do something against the rules. Now, let's talk about these intox tickets. Why?
In-house?
Intoxication.
Oh, intoxication.
Dirty urine.
Yes, ma'am. I have no reason for that. I just try to do that just to take off some stress, some anxiety, and just, that's my only reason for that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm gonna, this is it for me, honestly. So, Mr. Saunders, here's the thing. So you come into the facility, this very serious offense. According to our assessment tools, you rate out to be a moderate risk. So that means that there's a likelihood that you could return out into the community and not commit any additional offenses. But there's also a chance that you could go back and continue to commit crimes. So you're right in the middle there, right in the cusp. And so then we look at, okay, well, he's taking so many positive programs. He really does seem to be taking advantage of this opportunity in prison. And then you turn around and get, how many tickets do I have? 12 tickets during this period of incarceration. They gave you 4 opportunities out in the community to be supervised on release, and you failed every single one of them. You know, I would love to say that I would support your being released out onto discretionary parole, but I don't know which side to believe. Because you haven't been consistent. There's so many inconsistencies, sir. It's hard for us to say, okay, well, he has truly changed. So, I mean, I'm teetering here.
So I would like to say I changed my violent ways of how I behave and how I act and how I respond to things because, like you said, I have done many programs. I'm in school now, and you know, I wasn't here just trying to pass the time or waste my life. I wanted to learn things and better myself. Yes, I have had those opportunities with the halfway house before and all of those things, and I wasn't ready then. I can honestly admit that I was not ready. I didn't have no care for consequence. I didn't have a support system. I didn't care about life itself. You know what I mean? Now, like you said, I have a son who's about to be 8 who looks up to it's amazing that that little dude still really looks up to me and I haven't been there for him. And that's why I took the steps to make these changes, to go to barbering school, to have tools to teach him. I did culinary as well. I'm in barbering now. I can understand your position as well because I haven't shown in my previous times that I was ready for that. And all I can ask now is just for the opportunity to show you and prove to my son, prove to myself that I am who I say I am now.
Yeah, that's the most important, proving to yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Certainly. So, Mr. Saunders, I listened closely to my colleague's interview with you, and I want to share with you a couple of things. I'm looking at the 2018 sentencing transcript, and you said to the judge, I really do apologize for the injuries. I never wanted to hurt him intentionally. The bathtub thing, it's a situation. As far as me shaking him, I never shook that baby. Okay. Do you remember being interviewed by Officer Menard in preparation for today?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What you said to Officer Menard was, the day of the head injury, I went to the bathroom. I hear him fall. He was unconscious. I called the police. I take full responsibility for it. So even a month ago when you were interviewed by Officer Menard, you were still denying your crime. Yet you're sitting here serving for the conviction, the sentence that says you did this crime. Why? Isn't there a process by which you really do own and accept responsibility so that you can reconcile what happened and move forward? You know, when you tell the truth, there's only one story to remember.
That's me. I'm not proud of what happened. So
Of course not. But
it's hard.
But
it was
you man
hard.
up and you take responsibility.
That's
right.
Me. And that's another. Yes, ma'am. You're correct. I just, like I said, I'm not proud of what happened. So I kind of wanted to exclude that from. It's not something that you want to, really admit, although it is the truth. So yes, I do, say I did this, I did that, and I tried to leave because I'm embarrassed and I'm hurt because I hurt somebody else. You know what I mean? And
An innocent child.
Yes, ma'am.
Gravely injured.
Yes,
and yet, you've been sentenced. You've been there 8 years. You've been engaging in program. We're looking for evidence of change. And on the cusp of your hearing, as you sit before us, you now accept responsibility. It's just hard to believe in change that is circumstantially to your advantage now, when you should have been owning it all along. And I get that it's hard, but it's the consequence.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is a good point. Miss
Can you
Berry.
repeat that?
It's part of integrity.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. So I have concerns about a couple of things. You indicated to Officer Menard that your plan for your use of marijuana, which includes your use of it in the facility, is to go cold turkey. That concerns me. That doesn't sound, if you're turning to it in the prison because of stress, how are you, you get out and, stress is just magnified. It's part of being an adult. It's in all of our lives in, every shape and form, financial, relationships, driving on our interstates. I mean, stress is part of the experience of the world. And your, coping mechanism of marijuana is going to be to your deficit and your son's as well. So why would cold turkey be your plan?
Cold turkey would be my plan because in the real world and society, you have other things that you can do to cope with different stressors or things of that nature. Here, I chose the easy way out, which I know was the wrong thing to do.
But how do we have confidence that you won't choose that same easy way in the community and then do something stupid like drive impaired?
I understand. I don't.
Because you have some of the same coping mechanisms there in the facility. Listen to music, work out, meditate. I mean, these are things that we hear from people sitting in your situation all the time. But you use your resources to seek out marijuana there in the prison. It's concerning, sir. So you mentioned in your opening statement that living your life of integrity, you want to continue on a path of redemption and make amends. What is your actual plan for making amends? How are you going to do that? What does it look like?
Well, I've spoken to the victim, which was my child's mother, and I've apologized. I've talked. We tried to co-parent as best as possible. As far as making amends is trying to make up for the lost time that I missed out on my son's life, and I can't, like I said, I can't take back what happened, so I don't really know how to make amends with her or the child because I really can't contact the
So
child.
those were just words in your statement. You have no plan. You've given no thought to how you're going to do that. And you can give back to society for the harms. We've been housing you for 8 years. Yeah. So there are lots of ways to give back, not directly to the people that you harmed necessarily. But to create better karma in the world, volunteering, giving of your time.
Oh, I was gonna say, in that specific case, yes, there's a couple guys that they do. I won't call it volunteer work, but they do work with youth. They do work in schools, different soup kitchens and stuff like that. That I wanted to be a part of.
Okay, you're probably not going to be eligible as a convicted felon.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Injured a child to be working in a school. Yeah, but there are lots of ways to explore giving back when you get on your feet and you're stable out in the community. And possibly applying for parking, you need to demonstrate that you have given back.
Definitely.
No more questions for you. Thanks for talking with me. Mr. Sosowskis?
My colleagues have asked most of the questions. I just wanted to ask about a couple of things. In your interview, you said during this time that these things had happened, that you would smoke marijuana every day, all day. And so, that's concerning to me because it led to, it's part of what was going on in your life at the time, but you're still doing that now. Incarcerated, you have intox tickets for marijuana. Have you been offered? I mean, it looks like you were in a program in the community, the Renaissance program in Waterbury at one point, but you didn't complete the program?
Yes, sir. Well, no, I did not.
You did not complete it. Did you start?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I started. Yes, sir.
Okay. But that was like something that was a part of your probation or parole in the past? How did you end up in that?
It was a court order thing.
But you didn't complete it. So,
No,
so
sir.
my concerns, my colleagues had expressed many concerns about other things that I also agree with, but I'm concerned you haven't taken, any kind of addiction program. You're still having problems. And you did do a program that was court ordered in the past, and you couldn't finish it. And during the time of these crimes, you say that you're using marijuana all day and every day. So I just think there's still some more work to do in that area, in addition to other things, So that was really all I had to say, sir. I'm going to pass it back to the chairperson here.
Give us just a minute, Mr. Saunders. Panel member Page.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So honest, when I came into when I reviewed this file for today, I had his discretionary parole denied. The disciplinary infractions, the fact that he was already on probation for crimes that were included violence, and the nature of this crime were very, very concerning to me. I would love to believe that Mr. Saunders has really taken advantage of this period of incarceration and has gained some insight on his behaviors and ways to avoid these behaviors in the future. But I'm not sure that he has really been able to consistently demonstrate that he's capable of doing that. So when I was speaking with him, I explained that I was torn. And I still believe that I'm in that situation. He's taken and received evaluations from people there in the facility that he's done a great job. How come he can't follow through with that? Like, is it because he's afraid of doing well? Like, is he self-sabotaging kind of thing? Or I just don't know. I would like to help him, and I would like to say that he's deserving of parole, but I don't think he's done enough to show me that he deserves it. So I hope that helps a little bit. I'm still confused.
I appreciate, well, because we do have conflicting evidence with respect to change. There are still programs that he could benefit from that would prepare him to be successful that are on his OAP. He does have 5 years of special parole ahead of him. And I'm not finding him suitable at this time. I think he's on the right path, but he has some maturation to do. When you're feeling stressed, and you're in a structured facility like that, if you have really learned from the programs you've participated from, then you're in a position to ask for help. And you understand that asking is not a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of strength. You're acknowledging you don't have to do it by yourself. So I'm not clear Mr. Saunders appreciates that. I think he needs a plan for his recovery. If he's going to be successful. So at this time, it's a deny for me. Mr. Sisaskas?
Yeah, I agree. There's some evidence that he's done some things that are good, some programs, but I'm still concerned about the disciplinary reports. He's the amount of marijuana use that he says that he was using during the time of these crimes, and then he's still doing that now while incarcerated. So, and he does have addiction services on his OEP, has not completed that. Had an opportunity to complete a program in the community, started, and then did not finish that. So,
Excuse me.
Please don't interrupt.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think he's on the right path and heading in the right direction. I want to take that away from him. I still think there's a little bit more work to do. So it's a denial for me today also.
Okay. So I have nature and circumstance, or institutional adjustment, criminal history. Is there anything that you Want, like,
program participation. I mean, he didn't take it to your program.
okay.
Yeah, I'm still, I mean, honestly, I mean, he's 31 years old now, and his out last in the community was in 2016. That's about 8 years, so 8. So he was very in his early 20s. I'm just not sure because he's not done until 26. I would give him an opportunity to prove himself and come back. Like, I wouldn't flat out deny him. He absolutely does have some issues, and that's not the nature of the crime. He's been consistent in his anger, but the nature of the disciplinary infractions, I don't see any further violence, and I don't condone the intox tickets in any way, shape, or form. But again, it's more poor decision making. So I would entertain his coming back before his EOS date without any tickets, and proving to us that he can participate in an addiction services program, continue working at these good evaluations, and come back before us. That's my position. He's in barbering. He says he's doing culinary arts. Hopefully those will be incentive, because if he gets any more tickets, they'll be removed, right? So
I appreciate where you're coming from. He does have 5 years of special parole, and I'm looking, I would not be willing to rehear him in less than a year.
and I think that that's fair because he's done it to himself. He just got a ticket in September.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. Put in some time between him and the ticket and proving that he can go,
And
a
then
year.
you get a little head start on the 5 years of special parole. It's what it would amount to, as opposed to right now, which it would be a
Yeah,
gift.
give him some incentive to not get any more tickets and get this addiction services program completed and a better release plan and just be more prepared. So I'm fine.
That's fine. I mean, he's consistent. That's what he's lacking, the consistency. His ability to choose to do the right thing every time, or more times. But yeah.
Consistency and responsibility. So I will amend reasons to be inadequate program participation, poor institutional adjustment, in nature and circumstance. Are there any other programs besides addiction services? He's done Voices DV, Alternatives to Violence and Fatherhood, maybe perhaps Good Intentions if they have it there in the facility.
They discontinued that.
Oh, that's right. What is it called now? Thinking.
But yeah. But he's in the barbering and he's doing his culinary. He just has to keep doing well. Anything positive that he can get into. Except marijuana.
Yeah. In the matter of Courtney Saunders, inmate number 370802, there is a motion to deny parole at this time for the following reasons: the nature and circumstances of your offenses, your inadequate program participation, and poor institutional adjustment. I further move to rehear you in November of 2025 with the recommendation that you not get any additional disciplinary reports, that you complete a tier program, other positive programming to include vocational training, and return with both a release plan and a relapse prevention plan. Do I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Saunders, we're going to give you another try at this.
So, Mr. Saunders, I appreciate the chair for entertaining having you come. I have to be honest with you that I did not have you granted to parole at all. I had you denied in finishing the remainder of your sentence there. And I believe that my colleagues had their decision that way as well. But we're giving you this chance because we believe that you can do this. And I hope that you don't prove what's wrong. Go and outfit, go back and do what you need to do so that you can get home to your family like you want to.
All right, thank you.
Think about the consequences of a ticket before something happens, okay? No more tickets.
All right. Thank you guys for your time. Yeah.
This concludes 370802.
I really wish this parole board would hold this monster to the fire and make him go through the facts of what he did to this little boy, this child, this thing that he called it while at his parole hearing. It makes me sick. It's like they're talking about, oh, you know, what he did. It's like, look what he did. Look what he did. A monster. Only a monster can do this. And he doesn't even have the excuse. It's just marijuana and stress. Connecticut man faces 10 years. Why is only 10 years? A Connecticut man pled guilty to assaulting and burning and breaking bones of his then's girlfriend 18-month-old son. That's torture. The Hartford court reports that the 25-year-old pled guilty to first-degree assault Thursday under the Alford doctrine. Okay? I don't know why they hand out these Alford. Don't give them that. Don't give them that. That they can then say, you know, and this is part of why he's still saying, I didn't do anything. But acknowledge, prosecutors say that he was caring for the child in March of 2016 when the little boy was taken to the hospital with a head injury, severe enough that he required brain surgery. Why did the parole board not hold him under the fire? They were like coddling him. You know, I mean, in some extent, they were pretty, you know, freaked out and disgusted. And, you know, it's not Iowa. They weren't like, oh, great hearing. They, you know, they were, you know, maybe some of my anger is, it's not totally founded. But I wanted it to be more. It needed to be like a Bonnie Jackson hearing. And it needed to be like a proper drilling, a proper, like, no, you're a monster. Why did he do it? What's his answers for why he did it? First of all, he's calling it. He doesn't call it baby. He doesn't call it the little boy. He says it. I heard it. I get he might not be allowed to call him by his name. Not that he was intentionally doing that, but it's possible that they warned him ahead of time. I don't want to make excuses. It wasn't a good time in my life. That's what he says. There's no emotion. There was no remorse. There was no shame. There was nothing. First degree and second degree burns on about 30% of his body from bathwater that was too hot, retinal hemorrhages, and broken ribs. And what does this mean? I mean, the beating is so intense that your eyes hemorrhage, or is that from the shaking syndrome? And the boy's mother previously pled guilty and received a suspended prison. She gets a suspended prison sentence. She allows this to happen to her baby for who knows how many months on end, and she only gets a suspended sentence. And she probably still has custody of her child. And then they have this monster taking parenting classes while locked up. Like he deserves to ever be near a child. There needs to be, the same way they have a sex registry, there needs to be some type of registry for those who harm children, that they can never be near a child again. They can never have custody over a child. The ability to torture a child, there is something so deeply rooted, some evil in you. There is something that cannot be fixed. You cannot take a program on parenting. And the idea that it's like everyone's drunk on the Kool-Aid, where it's like, It's okay. I mean, we didn't hear that there's any type of anything. No, you're gonna have to talk to your son at one point. Really? What do you think he's gonna do to his son when he sees him? You don't fix this. He has no impulse control. He's up for parole, and yet he has a write-up like a month before his parole hearing. That is someone who cannot control himself. 12 write-ups, 4 supervised failures, and he still only shows up as a moderate risk, not a high risk or a very high risk. He's one level above, I guess, low to moderate. It's a joke. The whole system's a joke, gimmick. Disgusting. If you can't protect our children in society, then who can you protect? Pisses me off. And you know, these are just like the few crimes that we even address. You know that this guy, he's a violent POS. Okay, there you have it. There you have it. The system's broken. This is why we do this. And with that, I'll let you go. Thank you, Sir Richard.
Did you ever tell the victim's mother what you did to this child?
No, ma'am.
How did the baby get all these burns?
The burns was due to a bath that I was giving him prior to the event.
He had first and second degree burns on his body from hot water, from a bathtub.
Yes, ma'am.
And prior to, well, after all of this transpired with this baby, how old was this victim?
About 18 months.